I'd like speak to you because obviously you've been doing boxing for a little while.
Yeah.
And like I understand that in this period that we're in, it can be quite difficult for some people, especially to keep their mental and also their physical health like going, especially when we're like indoors and everything outside just seems really scary and like uncertain and stuff. So, and I just thought, personally, I want to know how you go into boxing and how that's going for you and what you've learned and how other people can learn from your journey as well. So that's kind of why I thought we would have this conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, thanks for having me on it. So it's good to have a sort of a platform, I guess, to talk about these kind of things. And of course, I've had plenty of opportunities to, I guess, tell my story in various different ways. So it's good to have a black person on the other side of the conversation. So I'm for it. So now, great to see what you're doing. Thanks for having me on it. In terms of like how I started from a friend.
Okay.
And as you know from cults, we grew up predominantly in a white dominant area.
Yeah.
Sort of white, sort of middle class. And as much as you would think that these people, of course, uphold themselves to a certain standard, and I educated enough I still had my own sort of dilemmas in terms of racial clashes and perhaps bullying of some sort. I would say bullying, but attempted bullying. So I found myself in sort of racial situations or bullying situations where I found myself fighting in school. Probably roughly about like 14, 15. Because obviously like that's when you start getting a little bit taller, you've got some height on you, you actually start to grow a little bit. So I guess and I had a friend, Jack, where we were sort of dumb and dumber and we did everything together. And we found ourselves in a couple of situations where we find ourselves fighting due to these things happening, and we were kind of like, well, if we're gonna find ourselves fighting, I was never like, I guess perhaps want to back down and we let myself be bullied or and let sort of the racism slide, because at that point in time I didn't really know how to sort of verbally articulate myself in a sense where someone would be like, yo, hey, that shouldn't be said, and educate people like, hey, that you can't say that. So my initial reaction was just red and rage. So I reacted at that age, at that time, in sort of I guess the best way I knew. So we'd gone to the boxing together, age of 15, going on 16, I think. So like around about 2014, I would say. So we'd gone. And I mean, this time, like you're talking about back in Aberdeen when it's snowing, like you're getting proper snow.
Yeah.
And we have to go to King's Wells, which is 2 buses. To get there.
Yeah, you can't get a street bus from Coast.
Nah, I mean, it's like if you drive straight to it, it's like 10 minutes, but it's like a 45-minute bus journey to the boxing gym. So at 15, Mum's like, yeah, I'm not taking you to no boxing gym. Like, that's not happening. Not on my watch. If you want to do it, I'm gonna get punched in the face. That's on you. Like, I'm not taking you. So like, okay, I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. I'm gonna go. We've gone. We've tried it out. First day, and they're like, hey guys, obviously because you're young, you're gonna need parental approval to sign the form, say that you can box. And on some of our journey back home, I've told my friend, I'm like, mate, it's snowing. There's no way I'm taking 2 buses, 45 minutes to go and learn how to box. Like, I'm just gonna have to firm it. And of course, like I said, because we did everything together, he went on to really do the boxing, and I see him go out running, training, and you know, really dedicating himself to the craft at the time. And all I was doing was playing Xbox, FIFA at home. And he went on to be like Scottish champion, district champion, and he was on STV News after a year for like what he'd accomplished. And I was like, wow, like that's my best friend. That's a person I spend outside of school, in school most of my time with. And like within the last year, we were at that point in time, we were 16. All I've got to show is just I go to school. Like, half decent. And I attend
quite young, 16.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, like it's not, I don't necessarily need to put pressure on myself, but like when that's your best friend, you guys do everything together, and that's like the one thing that we didn't share.
Yeah.
And to see him go and do well, because I was always very much into sports, and I excelled in sports in school, but I never sort of took it any further than that. It was just school, so everything was, what am I going to do at uni when I get to that stage? So when he went and done that, I seen the discipline and sort of what he did there. I was like, I guess that the sort of my ego to some extent and the need to be competitive with your friends kicked in, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and try it myself and see how that goes, and hopefully that takes away some of this like stress of it all, that the fighting in school. Not that I was fighting all the time, but I just to avoid it from happening if necessarily. And yeah, essentially when I went and joined, the fighting stopped. So
You're like, it's boxing now.
Yeah.
Try him.
Yeah. So basically from then on now, I've never had a street fight ever since. So
Fingers crossed.
yeah, and hopefully it stays that way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Touch wood. Hopefully it stays that way. Because of course I'm an adult now and I have a lot more to lose and a lot more repercussions that are gonna come along with that.
Yeah.
With that situation. So yeah, joining since then, I haven't looked back, and I went to achieve exactly what I wanted to achieve at that point in time, in terms of like being a two-time district champion, Scottish champion at the time, as well as within that first year, and getting my 15 seconds on TV and getting to say, yeah, hey, I'm boxing. So and like sure at that point in time, show my mum that, hey,
yeah,
like I was serious about going to this thing, and it was it was important to me. I dedicated myself to it, and it kept me out of some trouble at the same time.
Fantastic. Thank you. I mean, thank you for sharing your story. It's not, it's not easy, at a young age getting bullied. It's not easy for anybody. On top of that, feeling like you're quite different from everybody else as well. But I think your story is really great because it shows you sort of like understanding your identity and kind of finding your way even through such a difficult time. And now you're boxing, and your story, I mean, hoping when people listen to this and other young people listen to this, they kind of can learn from your story as well. And I mean, what advice would you give to anyone who has faced who's facing bullying or who has faced bullying? Like, I mean, obviously not to fight your way through it, but like, what other steps do you think they can take to stop it or to avoid being bullied if they can? Yeah.
I think when it comes to sort of in that situation, and from my story, it's always finding someone to talk about that situation with, and it might not necessarily always be talk to your friends about it. I think we sometimes we shy away from talking to our friends because we perhaps might think it will make us look less than in front of our friends. But we would be surprised to see the amount of people that go through very much similar things in different ways. That you can take, I guess, like I said, take solace in the fact that, you know what, at a young age, sometimes these things do happen. Not that we condone it, but you're not alone in that battle. Of course, speak to your teachers. I always had a very much front on at the time approach to it, but it doesn't always have to be that case. And likewise, the people that are in situations where they're bullying, they're perhaps going through situations themselves, and that's the way they find to sort of let out that frustration. And if you can in any situation, message these people and try and speak to them outside of their usual school environment, where they feel the need to be this person that pushes and shoves other people around. Because in reality, I think when you get a chance to just talk to these people, or if you speak to them outside of that environment, they become a little bit more human, and you see that kind of nicer side of them. So I think if you're in a situation of where you're getting bullied, definitely speak to your friends, speak to your family, and speak to people that you can trust to sort of find ways in your situation that apply to you that might help you best. Find that, and a great thing that always helps, I think, and not just combat sports. Of course, combat sports are known for giving you that confidence and given the opportunity to stand up for yourself. And like I said, not even necessarily in a situation of fighting, because I said when I got into fighting, when I got into the boxing world, I didn't need to anymore, because why there's other people were afraid of fighting me, or I was disciplined enough now to realize I could just walk away, and not always have to, fight fire with fire. So it was involving yourself in a sport or in something that you find interesting, to help you channel some of the energy that you can in sort of a positive way, without having to always deal with that, to sort of use something that's going to strengthen your mind and make you a person where you can, let's say, perhaps find a way to verbalize your frustration towards this person, and for them to understand that what they're doing really is affecting you in a negative manner. Because people sometimes don't see it. As kids, we don't see that the way it affects other people negatively, because we do something to someone to get a laugh, and it's funny, other people laugh, and you think it's all right because my friends are laughing and he seems cool at the time, but it's impacting someone in a negative way. And if you can find a way to verbalize that towards people, then people can realize that maybe this isn't as funny as we thought it was.
Thank you, Boris. Thank you. And your advice is certainly valid, and I'm sure like a lot of people will listen to this and try and take those steps. And I know there was a situation in Cox, unfortunately, a few years ago, where a pupil was bullied and unfortunately ended up in quite a terrible altercation between.
I think that's the thing that we have to realize, because I think when that happened, and I had a lot of people message me, because obviously from the school that I went to, I had a few friends outside of Colts that sort of messaged me saying, "Isn't that your school? Doesn't like a super fancy school to go to? How come this happened?" I was like, because everyone's like, "Oh, we expected this to happen in sort of your lower income areas," and but people fail to understand that like it affects all of us, regardless of wherever you grow up. And like I said, not everyone's, like I said, likewise with my situations, that we all expect people in this environment not to feel the pain and feel the hurt, and to be able to know better. But as kids, we don't always know better, because you come from a wealthier background, or a stricter background of some sort. So this can happen in any environment that you grew up in, rich, poor, or whatever else. So we have to realize that we have to take all this into consideration. So whether like you come from a school doesn't seem as prominent as one other, doesn't mean that you should bully the other kids that, or hey, you have to wear a tie to school, or you have to wear a blazer, because, and vice versa, to sort of demean people from another economic background simply because of where they come from, because all of this hits us negatively, regardless of whatever mom and dad has in the background.
Thank you so much, Boris. So kind of going back to your like boxing career. So like now you told us about how you got into boxing. So I want to know, what category of boxing do you do? Because for some people, they're like, okay, boxing is boxing, but they're different like weights from what I know. So like what category?
So I box at super middle, which is like 70 which the championship weight for that is 76 kgs, I believe. I just work at, I think that's like 12 stone something like I think 12 stone on the dot. I feel like I should have known, but I think it's like 12 stone on the dot, or like, which is 76 kgs. So weight wise, that's where I'm at. It's called super middle, and it's just traditional, stand-up boxing.
The boxing, okay, fab. And like, so you mentioned something about discipline and training, something that you seen your friend doing. So now that you're a professional boxer, like what is your training? Give us a little bit of insight into your training schedule. So I mean, when you're not competing and when you're just about to go compete, I guess.
I guess when I'm sort of leading up to a fight, my training is, I guess, regimental to a certain extent, but has its flexibilities at the same time. Like, I don't do everything at a specific time, but there's a regiment to it where there's certain things that need to get done in a certain manner, and they get done accordingly. So I mean, when I'm in sort of leading up to a fight, you see me training in between 12 to 14 times a week. And that's a combination of cardio training in whichever form, which might be running, might be a full body workout in terms of either like a CrossFit style workout or a MetaFit workout, just a full body workout, starting to get the heart rate up.
Yeah.
Boxing training itself, which I have 3 to 4 times a week, depending on what our schedule is that week. So it can vary a little bit. But like I said, the days are the same, but it can just vary a little bit. And then my strength and conditioning sessions as well, which I have one every single day. 6 days a week.
Okay, so you get one rest day from it.
I get one rest day, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On
a good week. On a good week. On a good week. Some weeks you just roll straight into it. Doesn't matter if it's Monday or if it's Sunday. We're training. We're working.
Wow. And I mean, you mentioned sort of your training schedule, but what are there any restrictions to your diet?
Yeah. So depending, of course, what weight I'm going to be fighting at, and that can vary in itself as well according to what opponent I might be facing at the time. My weight can vary what weight I need to be, and how strict my diet is. Normally, on a day-to-day basis, I'm quite bland in that sense where I like good food, but my food tends to be very much the same throughout the year. So I don't fluctuate very much in between my weight, so I don't find myself having to necessarily diet to a severe amount because I'm quite consistent. When I'm not, so like after a fight, you might find some of the fighters or athletes, sort of take that sort of really opposite end of their training where they really take that chill time and they really take that break out of training. And, I've seen guys that I've trained alongside with, and, in the Scotland team, and even as a professional that I've gone and put on like a stone and a half within like 2 weeks of being out the back of a fight.
That sounds like me, but I'm not training.
And like, I mean, these guys have gone from like the best shape they've ever been, 6-pack the whole lot, to like, a completely different person, chubby cheeks the lot. You wouldn't tell they're a professional athlete 2 weeks later. So for myself, I think from a young age when I started doing the sport, I built those sort of habits where allows me to sort of maintain a decent shape throughout the whole year. So in terms of like when I was 16, when I decided, okay, I'm actually gonna go give this a try, I started cutting things out like fizzy drinks. I cut out like fast food. So like, I mean, I can probably tell you about a handful of times in the age of 16 that I've eaten at McDonald's. So like,
Sorry.
I know it was hurting. I'm like, guys, I don't feel your pain whatsoever. So like, I can't remember the last time I had a McDonald's burger. Like, I couldn't even tell you the last time I had that. So I cut out some fast foods really early, and from a really early age. I started learning how to cook myself and what was decent to cook, and of course, down the line, my decision to become a personal trainer was also very much because of the sports that I was doing. So I very much engulfed myself in not just being the athlete, but being able to sort of educate myself in how to sort of nutrition-wise and conditioning and strength and other things that can, better me in the sports that I might not necessarily have straight off the bat.
So you didn't have any cheat days? Like, you must have cheat days, right?
Oh no, I cheat all the time.
Okay, that's good. Makes me feel better.
So like, my kryptonite is custard cream biscuits.
Oh.
So I mean, I can sit and just show you a whole packet without flinching. So. I mean, it's very rare that you find an athlete at a stage where, like I said, no one has a little sort of treat here and there. Of course, I think that's important. That the aim is to try and build habits. And like I said, from a young age, very much most of the time you find me drinking water, but that doesn't mean that like, if I'm going Nando's, doesn't mean that I'm not gonna get the the bottomless fizzy drink. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get that. At that point in time, I'll probably finally treat myself with things that on a daily basis I will be drinking water. So I'm not always the kind of drink. That's one thing that we don't realize, that we drink a lot of our calories away. So is if which is easily done. So it's not just about like the food you're taking in, but you've got to consider what you're drinking as well at the same time. And like I said, as a young kid, I'd cut out fizzy drinks, but I'd substitute them with juice. So like the sugar levels were still very similar. So I went from not drinking Fanta anymore, but I went to drinking apple juice, and the sugar content is very much the same. But in my head, that's obviously the healthier option. Yeah, that's better. But at the same time, I was doing myself this, and then when I realized that as I got older, then that can alleviate that as well. But doesn't mean I don't have these things. I do have these things, but in moderation and with time. So
yeah.
Don't be afraid of the carbs, or don't be afraid of the sugar, or find a way to sort of moderate it for ourselves. And like if I'm doing my shopping, one of the things that you find me that I would do consistently, whether it's in or outside of training, is I will buy a 5% lean mints at all times. So that's like one of the things that I do religiously, is like I'll always get that lower percentage of meat, regardless if it does cost a little bit more, but because in the long run, that's something that you want something that should be consistent throughout. And the reason why for me, I'm like, if I feel the need to eat something sweet, then I'd probably eat it then and there. I'll give myself the treat rather than the one cheat day. And it almost feels like it almost feels like if you have it, if you should have it on your cheat day, and if you don't, you want at the same time, you want to build a healthy relationship with food. And that's one thing that I will tell people, is try as much as you can to educate yourself when it comes to food, and try and build a healthy relationship with food. Because if you do, then you can allow yourself to enjoy food while achieving your goals at the same time. I think a lot of us can't see past the, people are like, oh, you don't have a Chinese. I'm like, I don't particularly enjoy a Chinese takeaway anymore, or even going to a Chinese restaurant at that anymore. But there's other things that I do that I found that I enjoy a lot more than other things, because I've decided to explore food a little bit more. I've learned how to cook, so I've enjoyed different things at the same time. So that's built a good relationship for me with food, where I don't envy someone when they're having a takeaway. Yeah, I'm not in there like, oh, I wish I was having that as well. If someone's having a pizza, I'm like, oh, I wish I was having that too. Because like I've been able to put myself in positions where I've either slowly taken myself off these things, or if I do want to eat those things, then I will give myself a chance, a time to eat these things, but not indulge in them.
I mean, something that I've picked up is like discipline, number one, and understanding that it's a process. It's not something that you develop just immediately. And with regards to like training as well as eating, in order to see the results, in order to be able to perform, to be an athlete, or just in order for you to live a healthier life, it's really discipline. And is understanding that it's a journey. It's not going to be a 1 month, 30 day, get abs or whatever. A lot of trainers, you see them 30 days and you have, summer body. It's not that.
I think a lot of people, like, sometimes people look at me and they'll say, oh, Boris, you look in shape all the time, and how do you do it? Like, how do you not fluctuate with your weight? My weight does fluctuate, of course, but you just perhaps don't see it I would notice it, but if it was just a matter of fact of taking a picture of me flexing, you probably wouldn't tell much of a difference. But things are like, I'm saying, when I started boxing at 16, I'm 26 now. So I started cutting these things out from the age. And of course, I had times where I still had them from the age of 16. So you're talking 10 years that I've been building some of these habits. And do I do them perfectly and religiously to where I don't break any of these rules? No, of course not. But I found myself where I have a consistent regimen where allows me to sort of have the balance of, enjoying some things that I do want to enjoy, but at the same time, finding enjoyment in the things that, are just the healthy and better option for me. in terms of fitness, because the more I train, the less inclined I am to eat biscuits or sweets, because my diet and my training is so regimental that falls in its own place as well. Where like normally when I'm not training, the cookies are calling my name, and then I'm like, yeah, go on then, let's have one. Why not?
And another part of training, I mean, listening to a few boxers and watching a few documentaries when they're about to go into the ring and stuff, they talk about mentally preparing for a match. So I want to know, how do you mentally prepare for, fighting an opponent, or just within your training period as well?
For me, I've always had the approach of like the training is the hard part, the fighting is the fun part.
Okay.
So, we train. So the waking up in the morning and going to run that 5, 10, 15K is probably harder for me now than walking into that ring. You know what I mean? So, of course, other people they deal with it differently. And at the time, my nerves don't really kick in until like the day. Like, obviously, of course, there is that background of some amount of nerves that sort of that will get me out of bed and be like, hey, if you miss this run, you're going to find yourself some trouble down the run. That's what keeps you motivated. That's what gets you out of bed. But these runs become tougher the closer you get to, because obviously the more your training amplifies, the stricter your diet becomes, the more and more real this thing is. But like, that's the training itself is the hardest part for me. Going into the ring is like, my mental aspect of it, the way I look at it is, it's time to have fun. Like, we've done all the hard work. Like, we've just done 6 to 9 weeks of solid training, graft and grind, blood, sweat, and tears. Like, this is the moment where we put all of those things into practice. It's that time it's just your time to shine, time to show off. Like, go in there and enjoy that moment. So, that's one of the things. Now, I think my look on it is going to be a little bit different, because when I turn pro, my look, especially when I'm going in fun, is the having fun part, and I cannot see myself being beat. So that, for me, I was very mentally strong in that sense, because I felt invincible. And of recent, and I always went with that. I always had that sort of invincible mentality. But obviously, my last fight, I got beat then, and that was hard to come to reality with, because I couldn't quite fathom how that happened. You understand? It was like the impossible happened, and that was the reality that I had to come with. So it'll be an interesting journey, and it has been so far mentally, in terms of like getting myself out of that, obviously almost like whole of like what happened, like the surreal of that situation. And I think I'm intrigued to see how my mental preparation is going to be going forward for the new fight. That's the journey that I'm looking forward to having. But I've always had the outlook of fighting is fun time. Let's go and enjoy it. Let's go show off our skills, and let the best man win.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, my next question was actually, how do you handle wins and losses? But I think you've kind of covered it a little bit. But I guess it'll be quite interesting, like you said, to sort of know how you're gonna prepare yourself for the next fight, especially having a loss previously, and And do you ever feel pressure to perform? Like you mentioned that this is obviously quite fun for you because you've trained, you've done the hard work. It's just time for you to just shine. But do you ever feel pressure in terms of performance, or in terms of being a role model? Because obviously you speak a lot about your journey from when you were younger to now, and I'm sure a lot of young Black Scottish athletes, not just boxers, will look up to you. Do you ever feel pressure?
There is that always, whether it's the younger kids watching, there's always that sort of that little bit of pressure from every environment. I think from myself as well, that I put on myself in terms of what my goals are within the sport, what I want to do with it, and how far I want to take it. So there is that pressure of need to succeed, and if you don't, that's what sort of obviously, you know, keeps you ticking. That's what pushes you, because you do put that pressure on yourself, and of course some of that external pressure you try and close it out a little bit, but that's the reality when it comes to sport, is that you do have younger people in the gym looking up to you, or on social media, that that want to see you go and succeed, and some of them might live and breathe what you say, and they replicate some of what you do. And now, of course, I've seen some of that. I've been lucky enough to see some of that in the gym, where, you know, you see other people you see young kids watch you, and then, you know, the next week you've come into the gym and they're trying to do what you did in the gym, and it's quite flattering to see that, because I know that I did that when I was a kid as well, so I know what that looks like. I know when a young athlete sees something that you've done, and try to replicate that, whether they tell you or not, you can see that sort of influence. So it's the pressure is that I always feel that, and the pressure that I let get to me is the need to sort of practice what I preach.
Yeah.
Is more so the only thing that I let sort of trouble my mind a bit too much. My greatness is my goals are mine and no one else's. So I wouldn't let anyone else influence that in any way whatsoever. So whether it's, do I think, I'm going to go and stop this person in the second round? Do I feel the pressure or the need to do that? Absolutely not. Because I've had that conversation with my coach a few times leading up to this fight, and I was like, I you know, bar one person, I stopped the people that I fought with in the second round. He's like, yeah, Boris, come on, man. You can do this in the first round. Yeah. And I was like, nah, if it comes in the second round, it comes in the second round. That's just what it is. I'm going to go out there and enjoy it and let it come when it comes. So like, even directly from my coach, you know, giving a bit of that in my ear to really transfer me on, I've always been that kind of person. It's like, no, like this is my journey, and I want to enjoy it accordingly. And I would think when I let too many people start telling me how this journey should start and end, then that's when I'll start to lose the enjoyment in it. Yeah. But what I have prioritized myself, just try and practice what I preach. At least that way I can hold myself accountable for those things. So if in the gym I'm preaching hard work and dedication, I should be able to reflect that to some extent. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so now we've spoken about, you know, your journey to boxing. We've spoken about your current career and where you are. And so now let's talk about where we are right now, as in terms of what's going on in the world. Social distancing and the whole, you know, the C word, nobody's saying it right now, because it can bring a bit of anxiety for some people. So how has the recent events, you know, with social distancing affected you?
So for me, it's been like, for me, when it comes to obviously like income wise, I'm all gym based. If I don't fight, I don't get paid. If I'm not in the gym personal training, I don't get paid. So it's one of those aspects where it's, of course, tough, because even though I say obviously the government's now put out things where people that are self-employed are going to get help, which is probably now, I mean, you're talking like earliest end of June kind of thing, mid-June, before anyone starts seeing any help. So like, it's not like everyone's going to get their checks all at the same time. Yeah. So you're talking June, July before, you know, self-employed people start seeing any sort of financial support off the back of it. And how much of the support you get, we're not aware. Yeah. So in that sense, it's been tough, because myself being a very much an active person, like not that I necessarily live and breathe the gym every single day, but my life is consumed by, I'm engulfed by health and fitness. Because it's from one, you know, my work gym, I do my own training there, and then from there I go to the boxing gym, and, you know, and then I'm back home and repeat every single day. so like taking that very much active side of my life away and to say if I don't fight, where a huge part of my income comes from, puts me, I guess, in an unexpected dilemma.
Sorry, Boris, just give me one moment. I think my battery may be
running a bit low.
So I will just stop recording and then.
No worries. Okay,
we're back.
Live and direct.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a really tricky time for everybody. There's a lot of uncertainty. I think it's great that the government is trying its best to support everyone in different, whether it's self-employed, whether people in employment. But there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment, and we're just really just waiting to see what will happen. It's a difficult time for everybody. And has there been anything that you've have you like prepared? Do you have like a emergency like fund or like preparation for situations like this? Because obviously there are times that you're not fighting. So like what else do you do for, like finance and sorry, that's quite personal, but yeah.
It's one that's just not kind of like, it definitely caught me off guard. Off the back of my last fight, I'd probably had, so I guess some money to sort of sustain me. So I've not fought since my last was December. Normally I'm fighting on average once every 2 months.
Yeah.
So realistically, I was meant to have fought in February. But I put that on the burner because mentally I wasn't at the place I wanted to be. So that allowed me, what I made from the last fight allowed me the flexibility to take the time off, not just off of personal training and work itself, which I needed, but off the boxing and the training in itself. So I'd kind of gone into that sort of rainy day funds already because like mentally I wasn't in a place where I needed how I needed to be in terms of training wise and putting the information out there in terms of like personal training work wise. So I'd kind of gone into that to sort of invest in my mental state at that point in time. So this was like almost like the time where I was like, okay, that problem's fixed. We'll fix that now. Let's go on and achieve the goals that we had set for the year. That kind of caught me off guard because I really had I dipped into that sort of rainy day funds earlier in the year to sort out. But at the same time, it's not like I'm not in any great trouble at the moment.
Yeah.
So, and I guess that's why you have the bank account of mum in case.
Mom not be watching this. She's like, no,
I hope she is.
No more.
That bank account, mum. So if she hits the fan, it's our bank account now. What I'm saying.
Oh man, and how are you still training? So I mean, I do follow you on Instagram, and I see, I'm not stalking you, but I do follow you on Instagram. Other people are actually, taking their home workouts very, very seriously at this time. So how are you training?
So I've got obviously some home workout stuff as well, and if you don't know if you've noticed, but obviously got a sort of group of people that are going along with this sort of 19 5Ks for 19 days.
Okay.
I managed to convince a group of people to join my insanity and run minimum of 5K every single day for the next 19 days. So that's something that has been able to not just motivate them, but motivate me highly as well.
Yeah.
Because it's easy if you set a goal for yourself, especially in an environment like this, where it's very much easy just to stay in bed that little hour longer, or wake up and binge watch some brand new Netflix program every single day.
Sorry.
I've seen everyone's been posting that.
Yeah.
But I never really got that into it. I like it, but I never got that into it. So it's easily done. But I think like with this group of people, we're able to sort of, give each other a little kick up the butt. That those days where it's been tough and I think it's a shared pain where we're like, hey, that was tough today. And it's like, mate, likewise over here. I guess that's why it's a challenge, and we have to sort of try and push each other to make sure we keep moving. So that's been great, setting that challenge and that target. So we have something to work towards, and there's an end goal, and it wasn't like it's not going to be easy, but we're hoping we have some fun, a good relation, create a relationship along that at the same time. And it just helps each other be motivated enough to just get out the house every single day, even if it's for just 20 minutes, half an hour, and not let what's happening scare us into just being in the house all day, every single day. So if you have something that's a reason, even if it's just a small challenge between friends to go out and do a run, that's that fresh air every single day, that you just go and get that sort of 20 minutes, 30-minute run outside.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, like you said, it's really good that you have sort of like, in some way, as a community of people, to encourage each other, because it can be difficult. There's some days that you just don't feel like going out, just don't feel like exercising, you just want to sit in front of the TV. But yeah, it's really great that you have that community. Although I don't really run, but I'm sure anybody who listens, they can join you in the challenge as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm sure we're going to have some more stuff coming along, and hopefully so we can get some more people joining on board. And this is one of those things where we want to try and individually use this time to find a way for it to benefit us the most, whatever goals that we had going into this situation. Hopefully we can still, to some extent, outside of the financial side, try and better ourselves so that we come out of this just that, even if it's just that 1-2% a little bit better. Whether it's, if you had sort of a fitness goal of, I wanted to run a 5K, then this is the perfect time to go towards that. If you're not much of a running person, you can get out on the bike that's probably sitting in the shed or the garage for a little while, and you've been trying to convince yourself that you were going to go out cycling. Perfect time to sort of get out there and use that. And as well, especially because, like you said, we've all seen there's an ample amount of information out on social media where it'll cost you absolutely nothing to go and join a group of people to get the energy and the motivation and do the workouts there at home, where for those people that never really love the gym can see all this information that's out there, be at home, but still feel like they're part of a community where we're all doing the same thing, we're all joining in on a workout, and it's in the safety and comfort of our own homes. So this is a perfect time to sort of really try new things where there's no one judging your fitness levels. No one think, there's not that person next to you doing 100 push-ups while you're struggling with 2 push-ups, And we all know there's always that guy in the gym, and I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it's me. I'm the asshole in the gym, acting as if like, but like it's great in this environment, because now it's like you don't have those fears. You can work on your weaknesses, you can work on your strengths, and in a safe environment. And I said there's a lot of information out there, and I would really urge people to go out there and try and find what works for them.
What works?
I said you might not be a running person, and you don't need to jump on the bandwagon on the running, but there might be something out there, whether it's yoga. You've always thought, I've always wanted to go to this amazing yoga studio. And I know myself, obviously, from the gym environment, there's a lot of yoga people that are putting a lot of information out there, more so than they ever did on social media. So you can perhaps follow them because you were anxious of going to a yoga area because you're thinking, everyone's going to be, because that's the conception of when it comes to anything fitness related is everyone's going to be amazing, everyone's going to be super flexible in yoga, but in reality is we're all stiff as anything. So it's a great time now to try and learn, and hopefully when we'll all come out of this, people can finally start finding that confidence, and to go and join these things in real life and build relationships with people in that environment. So fingers crossed people can come out a little bit better out of this, so that in that sense.
That is my hope as well. I mean, I've bought some equipment to carry on my exercise regime indoors. I don't run, but I try to do workout videos. And shout out to Tanya Emmanuel. So she's I don't know if you know her, she's from Aberdeen as well, but she's in Manchester. She's a personal trainer, and she's got a little group, girl group, encouraging us every week to sort of do exercise. And so yeah, there's a lot of things out there. It's just kind of you looking for it and finding what, like you said, what works for you. um
Yeah,
so
there's a perfect opportunity to try different things. Like we don't always have that luxury of the time and the information, especially at no great cost to ourselves at this point in time to try different things and see what works for us and see what doesn't. So this is a great time to try and really find that thing that you enjoy, like so what it's yoga or it's getting into running or cycling, or like I said, it's just doing home workout and joining little communities out there and trying to find out which one works for you.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, going back to sort of, social distancing, like what are you doing to keep your spirits up? So obviously you're still training. What else are you doing to keep your spirits up?
So I've decided to there's obviously a lot of things that I've wanted to do, that perhaps it's not necessarily always not having the time, but I guess the time and the will to really go and do it in your free time is I decided to take up learning Swedish.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of my best mates here in Glasgow, he's half Swedish, and we've been to Sweden a couple of times, stay with him out there, and so I was like, well, if I'm gonna learn, at least I can learn to someone that I can actually speak to, and like that way I can I can speak to and say, hey, does that sound right? Let me know, and we can have a little back and forward, and so it's a great way to learn, and I guess use it as an opportunity to just talk to your friend, I guess. If you ever needed an excuse. So yeah, that and also kind of just for me, I'm obviously I'm of course quite a religious person, and try and find my connection with God, and build that connection a little bit more as well. So those are the two things that I think, outside of just the fitness, because that's always just been a part of my life. Those are the two things I think just kind of keep me pushing.
I think everyone just kind of needs to find their thing. Some people it's cooking, some people it's quite creative, painting.
My cooking skills are fire, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed, but my cooking skills are fire. My cooking skills are fire.
Okay.
So that's one of those things, like you said, like building a relationship with food is always one thing I've like learned. I've got like slates. I've got different presentations for my food. That's how important it is to me. So yeah, like that's another great thing. Like I said, stuff like you said, food, and there's a lot of creatives that I get in a chance to, whether it's friends that do music, and if you've had the chance where you always wanted to do music or learn an instrument, get that guitar ordered from Amazon, even if it's a cheap one. Find something to sort of learn that's gonna not just spend your time in a productive manner, where you can wake up the next day and have something to show for it. Like, that's always gonna keep you satisfied. If you can find yourself, and we all like being good at something, so if you can find yourself getting better at anything, that's always gonna keep your morale up. And whenever the thing comes out and you can say, hey, I've done this and I've got this to show for my time, regardless of how big or small it is, at least you have something to show for it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean that is true, and I think this is a unique time. This is a time that we hopefully we will not get again. Hopefully there won't be this again. But this is a time to really hone in your skills and learn new skills, but there's also not feel the pressure to do too much as well. Understanding that your mental health, your physical health is a priority. We are all trying to survive, and don't, just because somebody is doing tons and tons of things doesn't mean you have to as well. It's just remembering that as well. But I mean, for me, obviously doing the podcast, so quite busy, still working full time, still doing all my side projects. So obviously, and most things are online, so I'm still keeping busy. But I think, like you mentioned, obviously, spirituality and connecting with your friends, connecting with your family, those are the things that have been keeping my spirits up. So what is the first thing you're gonna do after COVID is over? This is what I'm asking all my guests. What is the first thing you do when COVID is over?
Um, it, I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't know.
You
Link a
know,
gal. I don't. Oh, my barber. I don't know which one's first. Probably my barber. I might have to hit my barber up first. Be like, hey, it's been a minute. I'm coming through. Like, I think I'm gonna be in the barber shop for a few hours, just busting jokes and like cutting my hair. That's probably the first thing I'm gonna do. When they say the barber shop's open again, I will be at the
There'll be a
barber's.
long queue. There will be a long queue.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So get a fresh trim, hit the gym, and then
just live life.
Yeah, take it from there.
Back to the new normal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think things will ever go back to normal, to be honest with you.
No, I was actually speaking to my friend earlier, and I was like, even when this is all over, we'll come out of quarantine. If I hear anyone cough recklessly around me, it's a problem.
Where is your face mask?
I know. I'm like, yo, you're just gonna cough recklessly like this after we just been through? How are you gonna do that? The disrespect. I'm like, hey, as soon as you start feeling a bit feverish, social distance yourself from people.
Yeah.
Like, don't just be out here coughing recklessly. Like, I'm definitely gonna be looking at people all weird after this. Anyone sneeze and not instantly wipe your hands and have hand sanitizer on deck. It's just nah.
Yeah, it's important.
That's life.
Wash your hands. Wash your hands. If you're ill, do not go outside because lives depend on it.
We don't know. Summer's cancelled, which is really what's hurting me right now.
Well, let's hope this is all over by May, and then we can have a little bit of a summer. Hopefully.
June is what I'm hearing.
Well, you know, if it's just 3 weeks, let's just have 3 weeks of summer, and that's fine. We'll live our best.
You know, it's gonna be 3 weeks of chaos. It will be three. Whatever amount of sunlight that we get will be just
everyone will be there.
I feel sorry for the world after like the sun comes out and we all get unleashed into it. It will be carnage. But I'm not personally put necessarily any pressure on myself on trying to see what happens. I think it's not try not to fixate so much on what the end of this rather than just what's going on right now, what I can do right now and what I can do to improve myself personally. So that when, like I said, for me, I'm always like, when this ends, what am I going to have to show for it, rather than just sleep each day away and wait for the end day to come. And when the end day comes, realize you've done nothing. It's like, okay, well, I can go out now and party, but then what have I actually done with my time? Like, what have I got to show for all this time that I've done? Like, I said, even if it's minute, like I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, or you've learned it, you know, a new talent, or whether it's just being able to sort of look after yourself that a little bit better. You know, for us, so the people that, you know, are normally out every single weekend, you can just think of, hey, maybe I should just cut. This is a chance to sort of cut the drinking down, even though it's tempting because right about this time you got nothing else to do but potentially drink. But at the same time, it's a small thing, but a great achievement to be like, hey, let me just try and go, you know, 2-3 weeks without drinking. And I think we'll see if you're a person that drinks regularly, you'd probably find yourself in a good position where, you know, your body feels a lot better for it, that sort of time away from alcohol, because you don't have the same social environments that require you to drink anymore. These little things. I mean, not that drinking is a bad thing necessarily if you choose to at this point in time, in this obviously course a sensible manner. It's just, you know, just little things with everything that, you know, like you said, certain pressures on yourself that have been now taken away. You know, necessarily to go to work every single day, those things have been taken away. Just finding that time to just treat, even if you're just treating yourself a little bit better, because we can all sort of, you know, beat ourselves up or beat ourselves down for, you know, the aim of, oh, I've got work tomorrow, I've got this project to hand in, I've got this and that, and we're rushing off our feet, whether it's commuting from, you know, one area to the other. This time you might still have the work to do, but you've got that peace of mind of being at home and taking just that extra 10-5 minutes to yourself, whether it's to meditate, you know, pray, or just whatever else, to sort of just help calm yourself down a little bit. I'd really advise that.
Yeah, it's just find your kind of peace and center. Uh,
Yeah.
so you mentioned something about, the future, and you're not thinking about it too much at the moment. You're trying to be more present. But I mean, what are you looking forward to in 2020? Because obviously 2020 came and it's hit us all with storms. But what are you looking forward to in 2020?
To be fair, looking forward to sort of just normality seems like a good stretch at the moment. I think that's just, a moment when you feel like, gee, was I taking normality too much for granted? was that
Yeah.
that too busy trying to be rich and famous and not enjoy the moments that we had, kind of just like that, being able to see friends and family, when we wanted to. So 2020 is very much, I think, for me now, a time to sort of reflect on myself. I think, and because for me at the start of the year, I had a bit of a battle of mind that I needed to sort out, and being able to sort that out, and then this happened. So it was, for me, personally, it was a matter of fact of just keep on that building on from, the for what I brought into. So I came into 2020, even though I had very much a positive mindset on the go and do better. I had very much a hard way to sort of get up and go and do it. So I had the positive mentality, if I want to go and do better, bigger and better things, and I'm not going to let the loss of my fight dictate how my year goes. Putting that into practice itself was tough for the first couple of months. So coming into March for myself, I was able to sort of break down that wall. So now, so much so, it's more so just sort of making sure that we don't go back there. And we keep moving forward, and stay on that sort of same positive mindset of self-improvement, even if it's minute or if it's grand. So things that perhaps we've put to the side before, trying to just take that second to say, hey, let me sit down and assess this again and see what I can do to make it better, whether it's during this time or when this is all over.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. So finally, we're kind of wrapping up, but what advice would you give to anyone who's interested in following a similar career to yours?
Sports is a tough environment. Are we talking about sports or just the entertainment business in general?
Sports, being an athlete, and yeah.
I would say if you're gonna do it, try not to half-ass it. It's an environment that will, even though it's great while you're in it, can chew you up and spit you out at the same time. It's sports is in general. It's a great community, and you can do a lot of things in that community. But at the same time, that community can forget you. So try and find other things. For me, I've always been this, when I went into personal training, it was always that having that other thing that I know, doesn't, it's close to what I do, but boxing isn't all I am. That's not the simple person that I am. I can be able to sort of, in some extent, separate myself from that world a little bit, and have other things to show for it, so that if boxing was to end today, would it be tough? Yes, but I would know that I have other things in place that are gonna give me purpose in life. So always understand that even though sports is important, it's not the only thing that you can have in your life that's very significant. Because in terms of like the successful worlds of sports or entertainment, there's a very small amount of people that go and make it all the way to the top. And of course, you don't want to be like, I'm not going to be one of those people. But there's also been amazing people that have gone and got to that point, come out of which the individual sports, and been depressed and, fallen down a rabbit hole that they can't crawl back out of, because all they know is boxing, or all they know is running, or, and they've got nothing else to sort of divert their energy towards. So I would say start, planning and building little things that you can do and use to sort of keep yourself strong in times where you might have your ups and downs, even when you're in the sport, like myself, when I was lost in the boxing, but I enjoyed traveling. I had just strong group of friends around me. I had good people around me that said, you know what, hey, like, whatever you need, we're there for you. And I had also something I can use to vent my energy out into. So that's important. But I said definitely don't be scared of taking risks. I'm gonna say I dropped out of uni, where coming from an African family, dropping out of uni to go into sports is wow. And not just any sport, because if it was football, I'd be all right with that. But boxing? Oh, my grandmother was like, oh my God, no. Why my son? Why did you choose this? Why not anything? You could have done anything. So I dropped out of sort of uni doing mechanical engineering, which not even just my parents didn't understand why. See, that reaction right there.
That reaction is because I know that reaction. It's not judging you. It's like, I know how that conversation must have been. So
yeah, exactly. So like in that situation, don't be afraid of those moments and those reactions, and don't let them scare you into like giving up on what you're passionate about. Give it your best. Don't be the old guy at the pub telling young adults how you could have made it one day.
Exactly.
But you chose, or telling your child that I could have been famous, I could have been an amazing boxer, but I decided to go uni and raise you guys. No one likes that bitter old man telling that old story of how they could have been famous or how they could have really made it. So I think when you get a chance, if it's uni is going to be there. Really but also at the same time, set yourself realistic targets where, for me, I think when I decided to quit uni, I told my mom that first time when I dropped out, I had said I'll take a year I went in, and within that year, I went and got my personal training qualification. I really pushed on in the amateur world. Now I was able to break into the Scotland team at that point in time. So I managed to achieve quite a lot within that year that I decided. So I promised my mom I'd go back to uni after that year. I did exactly that. But by the time I was doing the personal training, I was part of the Scotland team. It was a lot. And I decided that, you know what, at this point in time, I really do want to do the boxing. I found the love and the passion for it, and I really want to push on. And of course, it's paid off down the line, and hopefully it keeps paying off. But I had to make a harsh decision and say, I'm going to quit now. I give it a year. I did well in the year. So, okay, I went back to uni. Then I said, I'm going to put that uni to the side. I'm going to give it another sort of 2-3 years, which is when it was leading up, I think, to the Commonwealth Games. In Australia, which I was like, okay, that's my next target. I set that target, and I fell short of that target, getting beat by a guy called Sean Lazzarini in a box-off at the end of the year in 2017, for me to just miss that spot in 2018 to go to the Commonwealth Games. So I was able to work towards vigorously that target, with, of course, ups and downs. But I set myself a goal, I set myself a target, and I missed it just a chance. So definitely make sure so that you set your targets and you stick to what you say to yourself and to the people around you. Like I said, because I told my mom I was going to go back to uni. I did what I needed to do, and I did just that. But when the time came around again, when I went to uni second semester, I was like, hey, mom, you know what? It's really too much for me. Something has to go. And uni was the thing. I set myself that target, and my mom see myself achieve. I see myself and my mom seeing me achieve the things that, so she was in no rush to put me back to say, go back to uni. But be realistic with yourself, I think, is a good thing to say. Say that if you set yourself these targets, be realistic with yourself. And if you find it that you're not quite getting there, doesn't mean that you should quit, but give yourself an option for a plan B.
Thank you. Thank you. I've learned so much. I mean, I'm not aspiring to be a boxer, but from what you said, I've learned a lot, actually. Number one, setting yourself realistic targets, keeping to your word, knowing that you have to be all in, and understanding the difference between your passion and duty. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah, thank you so much, Boris. It's been a real pleasure like speaking to you, and yeah, really nice to hear familiar voice, familiar face from Aberdeen, Scotland. Yay! A lot of my
You
guests
know,
are from
it
England.
was
There's nothing wrong with that, but yeah.
it was good. It was good to see the message, and um I guess to there's always sometimes like people like say likewise we live next door to each other, but we all, well, I guess unfortunately on both our sides to not really get to know each other that well, but we've been able to be in each other's lives to a certain extent, and it's good
Yeah.
to see that you get noticed, and
Yeah.
it's been good to get this opportunity to be there and speak to someone like I said with a familiar face, and get to tell my story. Outside of a different platform from just either boxing news or regular just normal boxing stuff. So it's good to be in another environment and actually get to talk about it, because I know I'm sick and tired about it, talking about it to boxing newspapers or whatever, or the Evening Express, because it's the same thing every single day. So it was fantastic to be on. But I want to ask you though, what are
Okay.
your plans for quarantine? Because I know you didn't say.
Oh, okay. So what are my plans or?
Yeah.
Okay, so while I'm working full time, so I'm actually a public health professional full time, which is funny because this is a public health issue that we're in. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm working full time. I'm also doing some community work as well at home. So that does take a bit of my time. During this time, I'm also continuing on with the podcast as much as I can. And I'm trying to learn new skills. So I'm trying to learn some design skills on Illustrator. So do more creative stuff with my hands. But yeah, a lot of it is just continuing on with normal life. And also I'm trying to set targets as well for my fitness. So
Mm-hmm.
I got quite a lot of equipment when I knew we were going to be indoors for a little while. So yeah, those are my plans. Continue with work, hit some of my targets for my creative projects, and come out fit and physically and mentally as well. So yeah.
Mm. That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So it's because it's always good to, I think people always assume that we in the sort of, I guess, the fitness environment we're always so very much motivated and dedicated, but it's always good to sort of speak to other people as well outside of that environment, and we can always take inspiration from other people when, like I said, that are not necessarily in what we do, but just seeing them dedicating themselves to their craft as well.
Yeah.
And seeing themselves set themselves targets and goals and go out there and achieve that it's amazing. It's amazing to see that there's we can also be motivated by the people that aren't necessarily doing sports and out there running 5Ks or whatever, and I take it for me personally, speaking for myself, I take inspiration from that. So to like be able to come on something like this and like see that you're doing this, and you've got the passion for it, and like you said that you've been able to sort of hit numbers and speak to people and stay busy with it, and on top of like your job. So the work that you do in different environments, and not only are you still working, are you doing some some additional work, you've got the podcast, and now you want to learn some new stuff. And I'm like, gee, I thought I was busy.
I am busy.
I was like, Jesus Christ, I thought I was doing 12 sessions a day. And it's like, for me, like going out there and doing those sessions, sometimes are what I do, and they're easy, but to see other people, grafting and grinding and what they do as well, in aspects that, them, you might see me going to go and train for the third time in a day, quite difficult. But at the same time, you're someone that's moving and doing different projects and doing different things, staying busy. That's inspiring to see, like, what that sometimes that gets me out of bed to be like, hey, this might be real for me, but some other people are out there really putting in the work like that as well.
Thank you.
In a different way, and working hard, and especially in these times. So good. Good.
Thanks so
Good.
much.
Hopefully, Bradford's treating you all right, and you know.
Bedford. Bedford is
The
treating
best.
me okay. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I might leave after this is over. Like, go find something else. But it's,
You've
yeah,
decided that this small city life is
just
not
like
for
how
you
to
anymore.
leave Bedford.
The pandemic decided that, hey, you know what? Nah, this is not
I'm
it.
out here. I'm moving back to
Took you.
Scotland.
I was Scotland.
Nah.
Nah. Just gassing. Hey, I thought about it for a second, but who am I kidding? No, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for having me on this.
Thank you so much.